I can teach someone how to read a song form chart and how to make a song form chart, even if you can't read music. And I can do it like that. We were having a camp one day. Almost everyone in the camp was having trouble remembering their songs. I told Grant, I was like, get the whiteboard. I got the whiteboard and I told him, I said, I am going to chart this song. I don't want you to ask any questions right now. I simply want you to watch what I'm doing, play through it. And by the time I got, everyone was sitting there going, oh, and all of them went back to the hotel that night and charted their songs. And they came back the next day, they're like, I can't believe it. I can play this song. That's how powerful learning to make a quickie chart is. We're going to talk about learning songs faster. This isn't some kind of witchcraft or black magic. It is practical ways that you can 10x, and I'm not joking here, how quickly and the amount of songs that you can learn. I know because I have used these tools throughout my career to help me land gigs, to keep gigs, to be successful on gigs. So this is the nuts and bolts of what I do. Probably in my drumming career, this is the most used tool outside of actually just playing the drums that I use to help me be successful. And to talk about it, we're going to have to talk about the 3 mistakes that you make, or that I see students making the most, that are holding them back from being able to learn songs as quickly as possible. Okay, so the first one, let's jump into this, because I actually just released a whole course on this. It's called Song Accelerator. The first one, that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I've been having to help students with this, especially in the past couple of years, so many times, and it's something that I can show you so quickly and so simply whenever it comes to kind of my method for doing it. So the first one is they do not learn song form. Okay, I can't tell you the number of drummers, the number of students that I've talked to where I'm like, well, what are you talking about? The verse, the chorus? And they're like, what? How long's the verse? I don't know how long the verse is. It's like, okay, first of all, we have to understand song form. What is a song form? A song is not just it's not like a train track. It doesn't just go forever. A song is more like a house with rooms, and you can revisit those rooms depending on how it's set, depending on how it's arranged. And if you know certain song forms, for instance, if you know the blues song form, the most common blues form is a 12-bar blues. If you know a 12-bar blues song form, and you can kind of hum the bass line to it, which is not a hard thing to do. I can play many songs. You probably already know it. You just don't realize you know it. You've listened to it so much. So if you know that song form, you know thousands of blues songs. Why? Because they are so predictable in the form of them. It's a very simple song form. What else is built off of the blues song form? Jazz. Jazz came out of the blues idiom. And so whenever you have a form that comes out of that, it's based off of the blues and blues progressions. So if you know the blues, you're one step away from starting to learn the song forms for jazz tunes. There's some very popular song forms. AABA, ABAB. What's AABA? You're like, hold up a section. It means we have an A section. We have, or not hold up a section, hold up a second. It means we have an A section and a B section. There's only 2 sections. You say, well, the song's 10 minutes long. Yeah, but it's AABA. What does that mean? It means you play the A section, you play the A section, you play the B section, you play the A section. And that is one time through the song. And every time you go to solos, you're playing the form of the song. So if they play the head of the song, AABA, and then they go to play solos, they're also going back through the song, AABA. It's not random. They're going back through the same chord progressions, the same sections. Then whenever they close the song out, they usually play the head of the song again. So it's one time through the full form. So if let's just say, for instance, that we're calling a tune. Let's say, like, take the A train. Do ba da 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 ba boo do 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 boo ba do do da da AABA, right? So if we're playing that song and they say, okay, we're gonna go one time through the heads and then we're gonna blow for 3 times through and then we're gonna play the head again and out. What does that mean? They very quickly conveyed, if we know the chords and the melody, what the song is. We're playing the song one time through and we're gonna play the melody. The second, third, and fourth times, we are going to take solos, and I'll point to who's soloing. Or they may say sax gets the first one, guitar the second one, a bass or drums gets the third one, or we trade 4s on the third one, and then we're going to come out, we're going to play the head out. So that means we have the head, we play the whole song through, we play it through 3 more times doing solos, then the last time we're going to play it through, we're going to play the head of that tune. That's song form. I had a teacher in college, Harold Bassard, God bless him, he drilled into me what song form is. Before I could play it on the drums, he'd say, do you know the melody to Autumn Leaves? And I'd say no, and he'd say, this week you have to learn Autumn Leaves. I'd say, okay, so playing it? He said, no, singing it. because song form is king. Now, let's take that to popular music. In a pop music setting, it's very popular to have this song form or some slight variation of it. Intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro. This is a very, very common form. Now, if we know that that's kind of that's kind of the land or the starting point that we're going from, and we can modify that. Well, what could we do there? Well, we could put a pre-chorus in there. So then it would be intro, still verse, but now before the chorus, a pre-chorus, big change. Intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, then back to the verse, pre-chorus, chorus, then the bridge, then chorus, then the outro, okay? Which the outro is usually a repeat of the chorus, or it's a repeat of the intro. We can also do a re-intro. What's that? It's playing the intro again, maybe not all the way through, maybe just half of it. So intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, re-intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, out. So if you know the basic song form of a pop song, you can do it. Another one would be like if you play at a church in a worship setting, those songs very often have a intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Then we're going to go to a bridge, and the bridge is forever. Sometimes we'll play the bridge for 4 or 5 minutes, right? We're going to go 18 times through the bridge, and usually it happens with a breakdown. So we're going to start the breakdown bridge, then we're going to go to a last big chorus, and we're out. That's a very common song form in church worship music, okay? So not paying attention to song form is hindering you from learning these songs. How do we learn song form? Sit down and count the measures. Press play on whatever song it is, and then count how many bars is the intro. How do I know when the intro ends? Well, the intro usually ends when the vocals come in. That's not all time, but that's where I'd start. And so then maybe you pull up a real chart of the song, and it tells you where the different sections are, and you're like, okay, let me see how many measures are in each one of those sections. So then what you start to see is a very, very short song map. And if you have that song map, it's very important to have that song map. So if you have that song map, you can meander through that song. Then we just get the grooves that happen in that song, and you've got it learned, right? So I spend so much of my time learning song form and listening before I ever sit down to the drums. That's what the course I just released, Song Accelerator, that's what it's all about. It's actually, I'll go ahead and say, until Thursday at midnight, this coming Thursday, I think that's the 19th, at midnight, it is 50% off. I'll close registration at that point. There's also a ton of great bonuses because this is the first time I've ever released it. And I'm telling you, this is one of the courses I'm the most excited about that I've ever created. And I created it outside of the Drum Better Daily program because I feel that everyone can use this. So I wanted it to be available. So please, if you want to snag that, go ahead. It is my blueprint for doing that. It's how to make charts, quickie charts, how to make cheat sheets. It's how to organize it all. It's the whole shebang. And I go through multiple songs, and then there's a 30 songs in 30 days challenge in there that you can do. So I teach you how to learn a song in one listen. It really is that powerful. Okay, so the second mistake, I really do want to give you some tips to do this, but I also don't want you to miss that if you want it. The second mistake I see is that they are trying to learn the song note for note. And this, to me, so the drums are an improvisational instrument, okay? And so they came about right about the time that jazz was coming together. And they didn't really have a formal, it wasn't like guitar, there wasn't a formal method for it. So the drum is the oldest instrument, but the drum set is very new in terms of instruments. So it started coming around right around the time jazz did. Jazz is an improvisational song form. We talked about that. It came out of the blues, right? This podcast is brought to you by the Drum Better Daily program. That's actually my online drum school that I've run now for 12 plus years. Not only have I been playing the drums professionally since the age of 15, I've been teaching since the age of 18. Matter of fact, I talked to one of my first student a few days ago. I actually called him to see if he could sub a gig out for me. Daniel, love you, man. And he's still playing. He's still doing it on a pro level. And I have been committed to teaching for 22 plus years now. I would love to have you go check it out at stevensdrumshed.com. You can find a link to that in the show notes or video description, whichever platform you're watching it on. But it truly is a community of like-minded drummers where we are striving to just be the best that we can be at the drums. In addition to over 70 pre-recorded drum courses, there's also a tech talk area where we talk about everything technology related as it pertains to the drums, e-kits, recording, doing videos, all of that stuff. There are forums where you can hang out with the other students as well. We do 2 live video student calls every week that you can join if you'd like to. We do guest artist calls monthly, and I'll even make you a personalized lesson plan if that's what you need. Yes, we talk about the nuts and bolts of drumming. Yes, I give you exercises, but we also talk a lot about how to practice more efficiently, how to practice better, and how to get more out of your practice time. I know you're just like me. You're busy, you're being pulled by work, by family, by friends, by other responsibilities. Whenever you practice, you really want to see gains and have it be productive. That is what we focus on in the Drum Better Daily program. I'll have to say personally, it's been really cool because some of these students I've worked with for over 12 years, we started running drum camps here in 2022, and I got to meet some of them in person for the first time. Those drum camps have been selling out, blowing my mind with how much fun they are and how great a time it is to bring the community together in person. I'd love to have you be a part of it. So drum set is an improvisational instrument at its core. Does that mean we don't play set parts? No, we do. But if you take a song, let's say by the Foo Fighters or Rolling Stones, whatever, take the original recording, then go listen to 4 or 5 live recordings of it. They will not play it the same way any of those times. There's going to be a couple of different, variations. They may have the same song form. They may play. They're probably going to play the same parts, but there'll be little different variations. The fills will be different. So the artists themselves do not play the song note for note. This is not a Bach. This is not a Bach fugue. This is not Beethoven. This is not Mendelssohn. It's not an orchestral piece. If you're in an orchestra, it's very. And I talked to a lot of students that have played other instruments, so flute, violin, and they've got to play like sheet music. It's very important in an orchestra that you play your part. Why? Because lots of instruments are coming together. A conductor is conducting them to make one sound as one instrument. This is different, okay? So on the drum set, trying to play the song note for note is going to wind up in failure 90% of the time, right? And then you just become a robot of mimicking what's happening on. You become that, clanging, drumming monkey. So we want to respect what the parts are, and we want to respect what the artist did, but then it's okay not to play it note for note. I would say you need to do that, to put a little of yourself in there. Don't overplay. Be musical. Be tasteful, right? But doing that and coupling that, see if you know the song form, and then you know all of the basic grooves and stuff. You know that song, and a lot of people don't understand that. So it's so huge. If you can just grasp these 2 things, it's going to take so much pressure off of you. Okay. And the third mistake that I see people making is they try to read the sheet music while they're playing the song. Okay. This is called sight reading, and it's extremely hard. I spent 4 or 5 years in college trying to get better at sight reading. It's very hard. I'll explain why it's so hard in just a minute and all the things that are happening in the brain. Another thing that reading the chart straight on sheet music like this is it's a horizontal line, and you don't understand the sections. Whereas whenever you're playing a song form chart, which is a lot of what the Nashville number system is based off of, when you're playing a form chart, you're going back and forth from verse to chorus. Now I'm back to sometimes I just push repeats and I play all of that again. So it's like verse, chorus, back up to the verse. Whereas now it would be like, oh no, that part was on page 1, this part's on page 3. But it's the same part. It's just verse 2. Right? So whenever we try to learn it in this ongoing, horizontal, linear, that kind of a fashion, what happens is we just think of it in measure numbers. I'm in measure 53. That is different than saying I'm in the 3rd measure of the 2nd verse. Because anyone knows where that is, right? But measure 53, you're looking through the sheet. And you do this all the time in orchestras. They're like, oh, measure 53. Hold on. Oh, no, that's 52. Oh, there's 53. And it's like, but with us, you're like, oh, 3rd measure, 2nd verse, got it. Because it's very quick. The 2nd verse right there, right? So I played an orchestra gig A couple of them, they were tribute shows, and it was like music I'd played in bars forever. Journey and Queen and that stuff. I could not remember the song forms. And I was like, I can't remember. And that's why I was reading 9 pages of an orchestral chart on drum set rather than a song form chart that I was used to. But when you could put those 9 pages down about this much space on a page and you could play that song just as well. Okay. So one thing that playing music by just with sheet music and try to replicate it like that instead of a song chart is that it causes you to think in that way. And what we have to do is change the way the brain interprets the song. It doesn't interpret it as a start and an end. It interprets it as different sections, different rooms of a house that we're visiting and then going back and forth from, right? That's what we want to interpret it as. The other thing that trying to read the sheet music while you're drumming, the reason why this is such a big mistake is because that is called sight reading, okay? And it took me a while to understand this with my students, especially when they would come here for drum camps. And I would sit there because we have a song that we record at the end of the week and it's like, oh man, why are they not successful? They can play all these parts, but when they go to play the song, they can't play it. So playing the drums is one skill. Reading sheet music is another skill. I can take a page of sheet music and I can read it just like I'd read the words on these pages while I'm eating. I can play the song and I can read the sheet music, or don't play the song and I can hum it to myself, sing it. You'll oftentimes see conductors doing this. I've walked in on many of them in their offices doing this with a chart. They do not have anything playing. They are humming the parts. They are reading and making notes like it was a book. That's another skill. A third skill is playing the drums and reading sheet music while you interpret on the drums in real time what is happening on the sheet music, right? It's like double encoding with a computer. Anytime you ask a computer to multitask and do a bunch of things, it bogs down the system. Something has to go on autopilot, right? So you have to work on becoming a good sight reader, which is I can see it and interpret it it's as if they're one. That's very, very hard. It's your interpretation of it on the instrument's always going to lag behind you seeing what's going on. So what happens is you get frustrated, you get behind, you miss things. So trying to just, sight read things. And when I point that out, I'm like, you're trying to do a third skill here. You're already not the world's best, reader of sheet music, and that's okay. But to try to do that while playing the drums, it's impossible, okay? If you have not worked on it, and there are musicians that work for many, many years to become proficient sight readers. I can teach someone how to read a song form chart and how to make a song form chart, even if you can't read music. And I can do it like that. We were having a camp one day, or 1 week last year, and almost everyone in the camp was having trouble remembering their songs. And so I told Grant, I was like, get the whiteboard. I got the whiteboard and I told him, I said, I am going to chart this song. I don't want you to ask any questions right now. I simply want you to watch what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it as much as I can visually so you can see what I'm doing. We will discuss it afterwards. And I charted it. I think it was a John Mayer song because a lot of his songs are based off the blues, so they're a little bit simpler song form. And I knew that. Why? Because I know song form, because I can interpret it, what's going on. I know John Mayer is well steeped in the blues, et cetera, et cetera. Play through it. And by the time I got, everyone was sitting there going, oh, and all of them went back to the hotel that night and charted their songs. Even those that weren't good sight readers or couldn't even read sheet music, they were still charting the song. They came back the next day, they're like, I can't believe it. I can play this song. That's how powerful learning to make a quickie chart is. So please, in your spare time, just sit down and start trying to chart. And that means how many measures are in the verse, how many measures are in the chorus. And then let's make some markings for what are the drum beats, things that prompt your memory. And I encourage you to do this. There's studies I could point to. I encourage you to do this with pen and or pencil and paper. If you want to scan it later, if you want to take it digital later. But the first time, there's something to our brains remembering the pictures or the shapes that we're making with our hand. And those shapes are letters and numbers and those things. So if this is something that you need help with, look, I made this course for you all. I would love for you to go through it. I don't often get on here and be like, but it is only out there for registration until Thursday, December the 19th, I believe it is, at midnight. So please jump over the links in the show description, check it out. I'd love to have you go through it. I'd love to grab the bonuses and the discount that's happening there. And I'd love to help you 10x your song learning, because that's what this thing is all about. We started playing drums to play music.